The Meridian Alliance's flagship, Eternal Dawn, hung in the void like a twisted cathedral of gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields. Supreme Commander Vexthor stood at its observation deck, his four eyes fixed on the holographic display showing humanity's outer colonies. Each human world glowed with a red marker, indicating successful blockade positions. "Remarkable," he murmured, mandibles clicking softly. "They haven't attempted to break through our lines in 3 standard cycles." The Alliance had expected resistance, brutal, desperate attempts to punch through their carefully positioned fleets. Instead, they encountered silence. The humans had pulled back, abandoning their outer colonies to Alliance quarantined with barely a fight. It made him deeply uncomfortable. In the war room aboard the experimental stealth vessel Shadow's Edge, Commander Sarah Chen studied a different kind of map. Her dark eyes reflected the ghostly blue projection of Alliance fleet positions, looking not at their strength, but at the patterns they created. "They think they're containing us," she said to the assembled officers. "They don't realize they're exactly where we need them to be." The Shadow's Edge represented humanity's best-kept secret, quantum phase technology. While the Alliance believed they were slowly strangling Earth's expansion, they had no idea that humans had learned to slip between the very fabric of space itself. Chen's ship wasn't just stealthy. It could temporarily exist in a state between normal space and subspace, completely undetectable to conventional sensors. The Meridians based their entire strategy on what they consider logical. Chen continued, highlighting key Alliance positions. "They expect us to either surrender or make a desperate push to reconnect with our colonies. Their ships are positioned to counter both scenarios." She allowed herself a small smile. They'd never considered we might have a third option. Deep within a hollowed-out asteroid in the Sol system, Dr. Marcus Wells monitored the quantum signature of the Shadow's Edge. His team had spent 5 years developing the phase technology, working in absolute secrecy. The project had cost lives. Early tests had resulted in ships simply vanishing, never to return. But they had persevered, driven by the knowledge that humanity needed an edge against the technologically superior Alliance. Phase signature stable at 99.3%. His assistant reported. "Commander Chen's ship is maintaining perfect quantum coherence." Wells nodded, his weathered face illuminated by screens showing real-time data from the stealth ship. "They said it couldn't be done," he muttered. "Said human minds couldn't handle the quantum interference patterns." He checked another reading. They were wrong about a lot of things. The Alliance's first major strategic error wasn't in their tactical positioning or their technology. It was in their fundamental understanding of human nature. They had studied Earth's history, analyzed human conflicts, and concluded that humanity would react to isolation like any other spacefaring race, with either aggression or submission. They hadn't counted on humanity's capacity for lateral thinking, or their willingness to risk everything on untested technology. They hadn't realized that by cutting Earth off from its colonies, they had given humans exactly what they needed: time to perfect their revolutionary new weapons. Aboard the Shadow's Edge, Chen received the latest readings from Wells' team. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The Alliance blockade had created perfect conditions for testing the phase technology in real-world conditions. Each patrol route, each sensor sweep, each communication relay provided vital data about how to move undetected through Alliance-controlled space. "Begin Phase Protocol Alpha," Chen ordered. The bridge crew responded with practiced efficiency, initiating the complex sequence that would shift the ship into its quantum state. There was no sensation of movement, no indication of the extraordinary transformation taking place at the subatomic level. Only the subtle change in the view screens showed that they had crossed into the phase space, the realm between realms. "Send the signal to command," Chen said quietly. "Tell them Phase Protocol Alpha is successful. We are ready to proceed with full implementation." In his private chambers aboard the Eternal Dawn, Supreme Commander Vexthor felt a sudden, inexplicable chill. He studied the display of the blockade again, looking for any sign of human activity. The silence continued to trouble him. In all the Alliance's history of expansion and conquest, they had never encountered a species that simply waited. He didn't know it yet, but he was about to learn why humans had earned their reputation for being the most dangerous species in known space, not because of their technology, or their numbers, or their weapons, but because of their patience, their creativity, and their absolute refusal to play by anyone else's rules. The last line of defense was never meant to be the blockade. It was humanity itself, and it was about to demonstrate why that was more than enough. Dr. Marcus Wells stood in the center of Project Nightshade's primary testing chamber, surrounded by a constellation of floating neural interfaces. Each device was barely larger than a fingertip, containing technology that had cost more lives and resources than he cared to remember. The interfaces glowed with a subtle blue-green luminescence, their quantum cores pulsing in perfect synchronization. The human brain wasn't designed for quantum perception, he explained to the assembled military oversight committee. Initial attempts to connect human consciousness to phase space resulted in unfortunate mental deterioration. He gestured to one of the floating interfaces, until we realized we were approaching the problem from the wrong direction. Admiral Helena Reyes, head of the oversight committee, leaned forward. Explain, Doctor. Instead of forcing the human mind to comprehend quantum states, we created a translation layer. The interface doesn't just connect to the brain. It expands it, creating new neural pathways that can process quantum information as naturally as we process visual data. In high orbit above Mars, the Alliance survey vessel Light of Truth detected something its crew couldn't explain. For a fraction of a second, their quantum field sensors registered an impossible reading, a perfectly ordered pattern in the chaos of background radiation. Captain Zolvek ordered the data transmitted directly to Alliance Command for analysis, not realizing he had just witnessed humanity's first successful large-scale phase shift test. Back on Earth, Sarah Chen underwent her first neural interface integration. She lay in the medical bay of the Shadow's Edge, watching the tiny device hover above her head. "You're sure this won't turn my brain to quantum soup?" she asked Wells, only half joking. The scientist's tired smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "The interface has been tested extensively on volunteer pilots. The success rate is now at 99.7%. He paused. "Though I should mention that the definition of success has been somewhat flexible, meaning the interface changes you, Commander, not physically, but in how you perceive reality. Once it activates, you'll see things differently. The quantum layer of reality will become as visible to you as normal space." Some pilots report unusual experiences. Chen closed her eyes as the interface began its work. At first, there was nothing. Then reality seemed to fracture, splitting into infinite possibilities. She saw the Shadow's Edge exist in multiple states simultaneously, saw the quantum probability waves that permeated all of space. More disturbingly, she saw patterns in those waves, suggesting an underlying order to reality that human science had barely begun to comprehend. In the Meridian Alliance's Central Scientific Institute, the data from the Light of Truth sparked intense debate. "These readings violate fundamental laws of quantum mechanics," argued Chief Researcher Ixel. "Matter cannot maintain quantum coherence at these scales. It's impossible." "Humans have consistently demonstrated a troubling ability to accomplish the impossible," countered strategic analyst Murkoff. "Remember their first faster-than-light drive. By all our models, it should have torn their ships apart. Instead, it worked perfectly." Aboard the Shadow's Edge, Chen was beginning to understand why the neural interface success rate needed a flexible definition. The quantum realm wasn't just another layer of reality. It was alive with possibility. Through the interface, she could sense the quantum fluctuations around her ship, could intuitively predict where and when phase shifts would be most effective. But there was something else, something the interface revealed that Wells and his team hadn't anticipated. In the quantum realm, she could see echoes of other ships that had phased, not just human vessels, but ancient signatures suggesting that humanity wasn't the first species to discover this technology. Dr. Wells noticed her changed expression. "Commander, what do you see?" "Ghosts," she whispered. "I see ghosts in the quantum foam, and they're trying to tell us something." In his private laboratory, Wells reviewed Chen's neural telemetry with growing concern. The interface was working better than they had hoped, but it was also revealing phenomena they hadn't predicted. The quantum realm wasn't just a means of avoiding detection. It was a library of information left behind by civilizations that had mastered phase technology long before humanity. The Alliance's blockade fleet remained oblivious to these developments, their sensors sweeping space for conventional threats, while phase-capable ships slipped between the quantum strings of reality all around them. But in the void between stars, ancient quantum signatures pulsed with increasing frequency, as if responding to humanity's presence in their realm. Project Nightshade had succeeded in its primary goal, giving humanity a way to fight back against the Alliance, but it had also opened a door to something far more profound, and potentially far more dangerous, than anyone had anticipated. The quantum realm wasn't just a tool or a weapon. It was a legacy left behind by beings who had transcended normal space itself, and humanity was about to inherit that legacy, ready or not. The Earth fleet's flagship Prometheus hung in the shadow of Saturn, its quantum signature masked by the gas giant's electromagnetic field. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge, watching as 300 ships of humanity's remaining fleet underwent simultaneous neural interface installation. The view through her own interface showed each vessel wreathed in quantum possibilities, their hulls flickering between normal space and the phase realm. Ghost Protocol is now active across 60% of the fleet, her XO reported. Neural interface integration proceeding at expected rates. Reyes nodded, trying to ignore the whispers she'd begun hearing in the quantum realm. Like Commander Chen, she discovered that the neural interface revealed more than just tactical advantages. The quantum realm held echoes of ancient voices, fragments of knowledge left behind by civilizations that had mastered phase technology eons ago. In the Meridian Alliance's primary research facility, alarms blared as sensors detected unprecedented quantum fluctuations throughout human-controlled space. Chief Researcher Ixel stared at the readings in disbelief. "This is impossible," he muttered. "The quantum field distortions are perfectly synchronized across thousands of light years." "Could it be a natural phenomenon?" asked one of his assistants. "Natural." Ixel's secondary eyes blinked rapidly in agitation. "There's nothing natural about this. The quantum field is being manipulated on a scale that shouldn't be possible with known technology." Aboard the Shadow's Edge, Commander Chen had begun to understand the true nature of what they'd discovered. The neural interfaces weren't just tools for navigating phase space. They were keys, unlocking access to a quantum communications network created by ancient phase-capable species. Through the interface, she could sense the presence of other human ships across vast distances, their quantum signatures forming a complex web of interconnected consciousness. Dr. Wells monitored the fleet's neural telemetry from his laboratory, growing increasingly concerned about the changes he observed in the interfaced pilots. "They're developing capabilities we never predicted," he reported to Admiral Reyes. "The quantum realm isn't just a means of transport. It's changing how their minds work." The most dramatic example came during the first coordinated phase shift of the entire human fleet. As 300 ships slipped into the quantum realm simultaneously, their crews reported experiencing a moment of shared consciousness. In that instant, every interfaced human could see through every other's eyes, their minds linked across space through the quantum network. The Meridian Alliance's most powerful warship, the Judgment, arrived at the edge of the Sol system, its massive form dwarfing even the largest human vessels. Supreme Commander Vexthor had ordered its deployment after receiving reports of the mysterious quantum disturbances. The Judgment carried weaponry capable of destroying entire planets, but even its impressive arsenal seemed inadequate against an enemy that could apparently manipulate the fabric of reality itself. "Deploy quantum field sensors at maximum range," Vexthor ordered. "I want to know exactly what the humans are doing out there." But the humans weren't simply hiding in the quantum realm anymore. Through their neural interfaces, they had begun to access the ancient knowledge embedded in the quantum network. Fragments of long-dead civilizations' memories and technologies filtered into human consciousness, teaching them secrets that the Alliance had never imagined possible. Commander Chen made the breakthrough during a routine phase shift. As the shadow's edge slipped between realities, she caught a glimpse of something vast and ancient stirring in the quantum foam. The neural interface translated it into understanding. The phase technology wasn't just a means of travel or combat. It was a step toward evolution itself. They weren't trying to hide, she reported to Admiral Reyes. The Ancient Ones. They weren't trying to avoid detection. They were transcending normal space entirely, ascending to a higher plane of existence. In his laboratory, Wells finally decoded the pattern in his neural telemetry data. The interfaces weren't just changing how human minds processed quantum information. They were rebuilding human consciousness itself, preparing it for something far beyond mere phase shifting. The Ghost Protocol had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations, but it had also set humanity on a path that none of them had anticipated. As more ships joined the quantum network, as more minds linked through the neural interfaces, they began to approach a critical mass of consciousness that the Ancient Ones had predicted in their quantum echoes. The Alliance's blockade had become irrelevant. The true battle wasn't for control of normal space anymore. It was a race to understand and harness the transformation that the neural interfaces had begun. Humanity stood on the brink of becoming something new, something that transcended the physical limitations the Alliance had tried to impose. And in the quantum realm, the ancient quantum signatures pulsed with increasing urgency, as if trying to warn humanity about what lay ahead. The Ghost Protocol wasn't just a military strategy anymore. It was the key to unlocking humanity's next evolutionary step, for better or worse. The Meridian Alliance's High Council chamber erupted into chaos as the latest reports from the Sol system were presented. The quantum disturbances had grown exponentially, and now entire sectors of space showed signs of systematic reality distortion. Supreme Commander Vexthor stood before the Council, his usual composure cracking under the weight of what he had to report. "The humans aren't just hiding from our sensors," he announced, his voice cutting through the din. "They're changing the fundamental structure of space-time itself. Our blockade is no longer containing them. It's becoming increasingly clear that we never were." In the quantum realm, Commander Chen led a fleet of phase-shifted ships through what had once been Alliance territory. The neural interface showed her paths through reality that normal sensors couldn't detect, corridors of probability where space itself was malleable. But more than that, she could feel the growing consciousness of the connected human fleet, a collective awareness that transcended individual minds. "We're approaching critical neural mass," Dr. Wells reported from his laboratory, monitoring the expanding quantum network. "The number of interfaced humans has reached a threshold the Ancient Ones described in their quantum echoes. Something is about to change." Aboard the Judgment, Vexthor received a priority transmission from his science division. The message was brief but terrifying. The humans aren't preparing for war. They're preparing for ascension. The breaking point came during what the Alliance initially thought was a coordinated attack. 300 human ships appeared simultaneously across Alliance space, their quantum signatures blazing like newborn stars. But they didn't fire their weapons. Instead, they began to resonate with the quantum field itself, creating harmonics that rippled through the fabric of reality. Through her neural interface, Chen experienced the moment in perfect clarity. The quantum realm wasn't just a space between spaces. It was a chrysalis, waiting for a species advanced enough to recognize its true purpose. The Ancient Ones hadn't disappeared. They had evolved beyond the constraints of normal space-time, leaving behind a pathway for others to follow. "It's not about winning the war," she transmitted to the connected fleet. "It's about transcending it entirely." In his laboratory, Wells finally understood the true purpose of the neural interfaces. They weren't weapons or tools. They were evolutionary catalysts, designed by the Ancient Ones to guide other species toward quantum ascension. The interface's effects on human consciousness weren't side effects. They were the whole point. The Alliance's response fleet arrived at Earth, led by the Judgment's overwhelming firepower, but they found themselves facing something their weapons couldn't harm. The human ships existed in multiple states simultaneously. Their crew's consciousness spread across the quantum network, becoming something that transcended purely physical form. Admiral Reyes, watching from the Prometheus, saw the truth through her neural interface. "We didn't develop this technology by accident," she realized. "The Ancient Ones led us to it. They left breadcrumbs in the quantum foam, knowing that eventually a species would evolve enough to follow them." The Alliance fleet opened fire, their energy weapons tearing through space where human ships appeared to be. But the vessels shifted between states faster than weapons could track, their crews learning to exist in the quantum realm more naturally than in normal space. Each attempted strike simply passed through probability shadows, hitting nothing but empty space. In the quantum realm, Chen made contact with something vast and ancient, a consciousness that had been waiting, watching humanity's progress. Through the neural interface, she received not words but pure understanding. Humanity had reached the threshold. The quantum network wasn't just a means of communication or transport. It was a bridge to a higher state of existence. "They're offering us a choice," she transmitted to Earth Command. "We can remain as we are, bound by physical laws and limited to normal space. Or we can follow them, evolve into something beyond what we currently understand." Dr. Wells, monitoring the quantum signatures across the fleet, detected a cascade effect beginning. The neural interfaces were synchronizing at a level he hadn't thought possible, creating a quantum resonance that was changing not just human consciousness, but human physical form at the most fundamental level. The Alliance fleet watched in horror as human ships began to shift into something else entirely, their forms becoming fluid, existing in multiple states simultaneously. The quantum realm wasn't just hiding humanity, it was transforming them into beings that the Alliance's weapons and technology couldn't even comprehend. The breaking point wasn't in the battle or the technology. It was in the understanding that humanity had unknowingly been part of a grand experiment, set in motion eons ago by beings who had transcended normal existence. The war with the Alliance had merely been the catalyst that drove humanity to discover their true potential. Deep within the quantum realm, humanity stood at the threshold of something greater than victory or defeat. The neural network that connected the interfaced crews pulsed with ancient knowledge, each quantum signature resonating with possibilities that transcended normal spacetime. Commander Chen, her consciousness spread across multiple quantum states, understood at last what the Ancient Ones had been preparing them for. The Meridian Alliance's mighty judgment hung motionless in space, its weapons powered down as Supreme Commander Vexthor grappled with the reality before him. The human ships weren't vessels anymore. They had become quantum entities, existing simultaneously across multiple planes of reality. His sensors couldn't track them, his weapons couldn't target them, and his understanding couldn't comprehend what they were becoming. The Project Nightshade was never about winning the war. Dr. Wells explained to Admiral Reyes, his laboratory's displays showing the cascade of quantum transformation spreading through the interfaced fleet. The neural interfaces weren't weapons. They were keys to unlock our next evolutionary step. The Ancient Ones left them for us to find, knowing we would need them when we were ready. In the quantum realm, Chen communicated with the vast consciousness that had been guiding humanity's development. The neural interfaces had prepared human minds for this moment, gradually teaching them to exist beyond the constraints of normal spacetime. The quantum realm wasn't just a hiding place, it was an incubator for consciousness itself. "They're showing us everything," she transmitted to Earth Command, her thoughts rippling through the quantum network. The Ancient Ones didn't disappear or die out. They evolved. They transcended physical form entirely, becoming beings of pure quantum consciousness, and they've been waiting for others to join them. The Alliance High Council received Vexthor's final report with stunned silence. The humans hadn't just developed a way to bypass their blockade. They had discovered a path to transcendence that the Alliance, with all its technological superiority, had never even imagined possible. The choice they now faced was stark: adapt to this new reality or become obsolete. Dr. Wells monitored the transformation spreading through the interface crews. Human consciousness was expanding, learning to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. The physical forms of their ships began to blur, becoming probability clouds that shifted between states of matter and energy. The neural interfaces had prepared them for this, teaching their minds to comprehend and navigate the quantum realm until they could exist within it naturally. It's not just about transcending physical form, Admiral Rice realized, watching through her neural interface as the fleet evolved. It's about transcending the very concept of limitation itself. The ancient quantum signatures pulsed with increasing intensity, revealing more of their stored knowledge. They showed humanity visions of civilizations that had made this journey before them, species that had evolved beyond the constraints of normal spacetime to become something greater. The quantum realm was filled with their echoes, their consciousness spread across reality itself. Supreme Commander Vexthor made the most difficult decision of his career. He opened a channel to all Alliance forces: stand down. What we are witnessing is not an act of war. It is the birth of something beyond our current understanding. Through the neural network, humanity began to grasp the full scope of what they were becoming. The quantum realm wasn't just another dimension to hide in. It was a higher plane of existence where consciousness could expand beyond physical limitations. The Ancient Ones had evolved to exist as pure thought, pure energy, pure potential. We don't have to choose between winning the war and evolving beyond it. Chen transmitted to both human and Alliance forces. We can choose to grow beyond the very concept of conflict itself. Dr. Wells watched as the quantum signatures of the human fleet began to harmonize with the ancient patterns in the quantum foam. The transformation wasn't just affecting their ships or their bodies. It was changing the fundamental nature of human consciousness itself. They were becoming beings that could exist across multiple realities, their thoughts spanning the quantum realm like ripples in an infinite ocean. The Alliance blockade dissolved, not in defeat, but in recognition of something far more significant than their conflict. They watched as humanity took its first steps into a realm of existence they had never imagined possible, guided by the Ancient Ones who had prepared this path eons ago. In the end, Project Nightshade hadn't given humanity a weapon to win the war. It had given them wings to soar beyond it. The neural interfaces hadn't just connected them to the quantum realm. They had connected humanity to its own potential for transcendence. The silent strike hadn't been against the Alliance at all. It had been against the limitations of physical existence itself. As the transformed human fleet spread across the quantum realm, their consciousness expanding beyond normal spacetime, they extended an invitation to the Alliance. The path to quantum ascension wasn't meant for one species alone. It was a bridge to a higher state of existence for all who were ready to evolve. The Ancient Ones watched as their long-laid plans came to fruition, as yet another species took its first steps toward joining them in the infinite quantum dance of consciousness. Humanity had not just survived or won. They had transcended, becoming something that their former selves could barely comprehend. And in the quantum realm, where consciousness flowed like light through crystal, the story of humanity's evolution became another echo in the eternal quantum chorus, a beacon for other species who would one day follow the same path to transcendence.